it's never too late to review the Kyrie 8. That's not technically correct because although this is the 8th version of the Kyrie Signature shoe, it's not actually referred to as the Kyrie 8. It's actually referred to as the Kyrie Infinity because the 8 also looks like an Infinity logo, especially the way that they've put it on the Kyrie shoe. The version I'm looking at of the Kyrie 8 is a Valentine's Day colorway. I've got no idea what the official name is. But I'm also going to be talking about how these things fare as a lifestyle option. Good? Bad? We'll see. Let's get into it. The Kyrie 8 has had some extra publicity before its release. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to Kyrie Irving's comments basically saying that the shoe that was meant to be coming out was trash and citing very limited collaboration with the creators of the shoe. He later responded to his own criticism, suggesting that he was going to work closely with the team to make sure that the final product that was made available to the public was endorsed by him or a good product, whatever. In any case, here it is, the Kyrie 8. And I think the Kyrie line has always been a really solid offering from the brand. They've always been a solid shoe, at least a solid looking shoe. From what I understand, they've generally performed quite well, but I'm not giving a performance review on the Kyrie 8. I'm not pretending to be a basketball expert. I will be giving you an opinion of how these things fare as a day-to-day option. Before I break down the Kyrie 8, it's probably worthwhile just to briefly break down the entire Kyrie range. You've got this guy, which is the Kyrie shoe. That is the signature shoe that sits on top of the range. You've then got the takedown version or the budget-friendly fly trap, which I think is in its 5th iteration. And then you've got the Kyrie low, which isn't really a takedown or based on the mid versions. It's a shoe that sits in its own sort of range underneath the Kyrie brand, and that's in its 4th generation, I think. I don't know if they've actually announced 6th and 5th versions of the low and fly trap, but in any case, let's take a closer look at the 8. I'll talk first about the aesthetics of the shoe itself, because I think if you're like me and you're buying a performance basketball shoe to not play basketball in, one of the most important things is aesthetics. You're not buying it for its comfort. Let's be honest, basketball shoes have a very specific purpose that lends themselves well to playing basketball in, but they can often be a little bit uncomfortable if you're wearing them day to day. So that's why I say comfort is kind of second and aesthetics are number one when it comes to buying a basketball shoe for lifestyle wear. What we've got is something that I think is quintessentially Kyrie. We haven't got like a complete evolution of the shoe itself. I think there's been a distinct look to each of the Kyrie shoes from the first model. They tend to have a very similar silhouette, and that just changes slightly year after year. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely an evolution in tech that's taken place with each of the Kyrie shoes, but I don't think that we see quite the same evolution in the design take place like we would see in other shoes like the KD, the Currys, or even the LeBron shoes, and I know that they're in a different price point. That's not all bad, because what we do get is something fresh year after year. It's just familiar. And in the case of the 8, this to me feels like what the baby of the Kyrie 6 and 7 would look like if they got together and had babies. I feel like this looks a lot more like a Kyrie 6 because it's got that puffy cushion look to the upper, but it does away with the strap and has a bit more of a lightweight feel, similar to what the Kyrie 7 was looking to do. The fit of the Kyrie 8 is very similar to any of the other Kyrie shoes that I've tried on. They are snug, and I think that's the best way to describe it. I know that Kyrie prefers his shoes to fit snug, and so that's what we're getting here in the Kyrie 8 and really every other Kyrie shoe. I wouldn't classify it as tight, it just feels really secure on your foot. It's something to be aware of if you're looking to wear this for lifestyle wear, because it might be tighter than you would really like your shoes to fit, and I'm not quite sure how it would fit overall if you did size up in a shoe like this. You could try, but I would definitely recommend going into a store to do that. I've just gone for my true to size fit because while I do find it to be quite snug, I don't wear these shoes for like hours and hours and hours at a time, and it's not something that I would recommend you wear for hours and hours and hours at a time unless you're playing basketball in it. The colorway that I've got here is the Valentine's Day colorway, and it is probably not everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely right up my alley. I really like the use of pastel colors, but what I like even more is the way that they've used black around parts of the shoe to really add contrast to this otherwise overly fun looking colorway. It certainly gives it another dimension when you look at the black around this heel area and also in parts of the midfoot and the backing on the tongue. The heel collar and lining is done in this tie-dye type material, which I think again works really well to add a different element to something that would otherwise be seen as being a fun summery type of colorway. So nice job on the colorway from my perspective. I'm interested in your thoughts though if you think it's a total miss, but luckily, if you don't like this colorway, there is a by you version that I've noticed has just gone up on the Nike website. Comes at a $40 premium, but there are a heap of customization options that really make it worth that $40 premium. Well, $40 in Australia, that is. As far as the materials for the Kyrie 8, I think what we saw in the 7 was a weight loss exercise. We saw the shoe trying to get lighter than it's previously been. And there's definitely elements to that here with this translucent mesh that covers much of the forefoot of the upper. The back end of the shoe though has definitely grown a little bit, and I think that's really pleasant on foot. There's a lot of padding. The heel itself is super well padded, and there are some leather panels around the back that give it a bit more of a premium feel. The tongue itself is also done in a leather type of material, at least the front of the tongue is, and that heavily padded tongue has got like a textile nylon type of material at the back. The tech in the Kyrie 8, they say has changed since the Kyrie 7, but from what I understand, you still get a Zoom Air unit in the forefoot, very similar to what you got in the Kyrie 7. There is some non-descriptive foam. I don't know what they're calling it. Nike certainly hasn't branded it as Cushlon or Phylon or anything like that, but there is also a molded sock liner that sits in between those other cushioning elements that gives you a bit of extra stepping comfort. As we would normally see with a Kyrie shoe, we see the outsole wrap up into the midsole because that suits his playing style. But what I really like about the outsole is that it is interesting. It's not overdone, so there's not too much crazy details happening here, but what you do have is the signature in the middle of the outsole, and then you've got the 8 done in a logo that resembles the infinity sign. The tread pattern itself is, I think, pretty much the same as we've seen in previous Kyrie models. It's a multi-directional tread pattern that's meant to really suit that multi-directional type of play. I think it's really going to come down to how you like your shoes to fit. If you're looking to purchase a pair of these for lifestyle wear, you just need to be aware that they are a snug fitting shoe. It's something I would definitely recommend trying on in store if you've never worn a pair of the Kyrie shoes in the past. But for me personally, because I don't mind the feeling of the shoe as long as I'm not wearing them for really long sort of sessions, I think it is a really good buy. $190 is really competitive for this type of shoe, especially when it belongs to a player of the caliber that Kyrie Irving is. I think it's got a lot of interesting colorways available so far, and I know there haven't been that many, but personally I found them all to look really nice, and the materials are nice enough. it's something that I give the thumbs up. I'm interested in your thoughts though, what you guys think of the Kyrie 8, whether or not you think it's different enough to upgrade from a Kyrie 7 if that was what you were looking to do. Whatever your thoughts are, leave them in the comments below. But until the next video, laters.